The night is quiet. A soft stillness rests over the rooftops and narrow streets, like a thin blanket placed gently across the world. The air feels calm, almost unmoving, as if everything has agreed to slow down together. Somewhere far away, a faint wind passes through chimneys, brushing softly against old brick walls that have stood for many years. Inside those walls, long ago, young lives moved quietly through their days. There was no hurry here. Only time, stretching gently from morning into evening. If you listen closely, you might imagine the soft echo of footsteps along wooden floors. The quiet creak of a door opening. The faint rustle of fabric as someone turns in their sleep. These sounds were small, but they filled the silence in a gentle way. In the Victorian age, many large buildings stood across towns and cities. They were built from stone and brick, strong and steady, with tall windows and long corridors. These places were not homes in the usual sense, but they became the whole world for many children. Orphanages, workhouses, charity schools. Each one held rows of young lives, moving slowly through carefully arranged days. Outside, the world was always changing. Horses pulled carts along uneven streets. Market sellers called out softly in the morning light. Smoke rose into the sky from factories that never seemed to rest. But inside these institutions, time felt different. It did not rush. It did not leap forward. It simply continued, one quiet moment after another. Before the sun had fully risen, the buildings would begin to wake. The light at that hour was pale and gentle, slipping through windows and resting softly on rows of beds. Blankets, thin and neatly folded, lay across small sleeping forms. The air carried a slight chill, especially in colder months, when the warmth of night had not yet returned. One child might wake first. Eyes opening slowly. Breathing steady. Not moving right away. Then another. And another. There was no sudden noise to mark the beginning of the day. Just a quiet understanding, shared by everyone, that it was time to rise. Feet would touch the floor, carefully, almost silently. The wooden boards beneath them were cool. Some children paused for a moment, adjusting to the feeling, before standing fully. Clothing was simple. Plain fabrics, worn from use but kept as neat as possible. Buttons were fastened with small, practiced movements. Sleeves were pulled straight. Hair was smoothed down with quiet care. No one spoke loudly. Voices, if used at all, stayed soft and close. Soon, the room would fill with gentle motion. Not busy, not rushed. Just steady. When they were ready, the children stepped into the corridors. These corridors were long and narrow, stretching forward in straight lines. The walls were plain, sometimes marked by years of passing hands. The floors carried the soft echo of footsteps, blending together into a quiet rhythm. Step, step, step. Nothing hurried. Everything in its time. At the end of the corridor, the dining hall waited. It was a larger space, though still simple. Long wooden tables stood in rows, their surfaces worn smooth by many years of use. Benches were placed carefully along each side. Morning light entered through tall windows, falling gently across the room. Breakfast was already prepared. It was not a grand meal. It was not meant to be. Warm porridge, simple bread, sometimes a small addition of something plain. The food was steady and reliable, the same in many ways from one day to the next. The children sat together. They ate quietly. Spoons touched bowls with soft, repeated sounds. A chair shifted slightly. A breath, a swallow, a pause. No loud conversation. No sudden laughter. Just a calm and careful beginning to the day. After the meal, the tables were cleared in an orderly way. Each movement had its place. Each task followed another, as if guided by an unseen rhythm that everyone understood. Then the children separated into their daily paths. Some moved toward classrooms. Others toward workrooms. Each group walked calmly, their footsteps once again filling the corridors with a steady, quiet sound. The classrooms were plain. Wooden desks stood in straight rows, each one worn smooth from years of use. At the front, a chalkboard held faint marks from previous lessons, traces that never fully disappeared. The teacher stood nearby. Voice calm. Steady. Never rushed. Lessons began slowly. Letters were written, one by one. Words repeated in soft voices. Numbers traced carefully, again and again, until they felt familiar. There was no pressure to hurry. Only the quiet expectation to continue. Meanwhile, in other rooms, different work unfolded. Some children sat together with pieces of cloth in their hands. Needles moved slowly, threading in and out with careful precision. Stitch by stitch, they repaired, created, and maintained the fabric that surrounded their lives. Others moved through halls and rooms with simple tools for cleaning. Cloths, brushes, small buckets of water. They worked patiently, wiping surfaces, sweeping floors, keeping everything in its place. There was a rhythm to this work. A gentle repetition. It filled the hours without needing to change. In certain institutions, there were small outdoor spaces. Gardens. These were not large or elaborate, but they offered something different. The air felt fresher there. The light seemed softer. The ground beneath their feet was not wood or stone, but earth. Children might kneel quietly, their hands brushing against soil. They would tend to small plants, adjusting leaves, clearing space, watering gently. These moments passed slowly. But they carried a quiet sense of calm. Above them, the sky stretched wide, even if seen only for a short time. As the morning turned into afternoon, the light shifted. Shadows moved across floors and walls. The air grew slightly warmer. The sounds inside the building softened even more, as if the day itself was growing tired. Work continued. Lessons continued. Nothing changed suddenly. Everything simply continued. Time in these places did not feel like a series of separate moments. It felt more like one long, unbroken thread. Each hour gently connected to the next. Each day quietly resembling the one before. And for the children, this rhythm became familiar. It was not questioned. It was not measured. It was simply lived. As the afternoon slowly faded, the pace of the day softened again. Tasks came to an end. Tools were put away. Chairs returned to their places. The corridors grew quieter, as footsteps became fewer and more spaced apart. Evening approached gently. There was no sharp change, no clear line between day and night. Only a slow dimming of light, a gradual quieting of sound. The children returned once more to the rooms where their day had begun. Rows of beds waited. Blankets folded. The air slightly cooler again. One by one, they settled down. Some lay still right away. Others adjusted their blankets, turning slightly before becoming comfortable. The sounds of the building faded. A distant step. A soft creak. Then, less. And less. until only silence remained. Not empty silence, but a calm, steady stillness. And in that stillness, the day quietly came to rest. Morning returns without announcement. There is no sudden beginning, no loud signal to mark its arrival. Instead, it comes gently, almost unnoticed at first, as a pale light slowly gathers at the edges of the room. The windows begin to glow softly. The air shifts, just slightly. And once again, the children wake. It is always the same, yet never exactly identical. A different child may open their eyes first. A different corner of the room may catch the light in a new way. But the feeling remains unchanged. Calm. Steady. Unhurried. The routine begins again, just as it did before. And as the days pass, this repetition becomes something deeper than habit. It becomes a quiet structure, holding everything in place. Within Victorian institutions, routine was not only expected, it was carefully shaped. Each hour had its purpose. Each movement had its place. This careful order was believed to bring stability, to guide young lives into patterns of discipline and usefulness. But inside these walls, it also created something else. A world where nothing moved too quickly. A world where time felt soft around the edges. The children grew familiar with the sounds that marked each part of the day. The early footsteps in the corridor. The low murmur of voices in a classroom. The gentle clatter of dishes in the dining hall. Even the silence had its own sound. It was never empty. It was full of small, steady details. Cloth brushing against wood. A quiet breath in a still room. The distant movement of someone walking far away. Seasons passed over these buildings, though inside, the changes were often subtle. In winter, the air carried a deeper chill. Windows sometimes showed faint patterns of frost in the early morning. The light outside was softer, fading more quickly in the afternoon. Children pulled their clothing a little closer, their movements slightly slower in the cold. In summer, the air felt warmer, though rarely bright or lively inside. The sunlight stretched longer through the windows, resting quietly on floors and walls. The outside world seemed more present, even if only seen from a distance. But no matter the season, the routine remained. Steady. Unbroken. There were moments, small and quiet, that stood out gently against the sameness. A bird seen through a window. A slightly warmer meal. A few extra minutes in the garden. These moments did not change the structure of the day, but they added a soft variation, like a small ripple in still water. And so life continued. Not fast. Not slow enough to count. Just steady. Like a quiet clock that never needed to be seen to be understood. The children grew within this rhythm. Day by day. Step by step. Without hurry. Without noise. And as each evening returned, just as gently as it had before, the world inside these walls settled once again into stillness. The same beds. The same quiet air. The same soft ending. And the same calm beginning waiting just beyond it. Morning light returns again, as it always does. It does not rush into the room. It does not demand attention. Instead, it arrives slowly, resting along the edges of walls and beds, touching the floor in long, pale lines. The children wake within this light, just as they have before. There is a quiet familiarity in every movement now. Hands reach for clothing without searching. Feet find their place on the cool wooden floor without hesitation. Even the smallest actions feel practiced, repeated so many times that they no longer require thought. the building itself seems to wake with them. It is never truly asleep, but there is a difference between night and morning. In the early hours, there is a softness, a gentle stirring. A door opens somewhere down the corridor. A faint step follows. Then another. Soon, the rhythm begins again. In these institutions, the days were shaped not only by routine, but by expectation. Not spoken loudly, not always explained, but quietly understood. Each child moved within a system that asked for steadiness, for calm effort, for patience. And so, patience became part of life. After dressing, the children move once more into the corridors. Their steps fall into a natural pattern, a quiet flow of movement that fills the space without disturbing it. No one needs to be told where to go. They already know. The dining hall waits, unchanged. The same long tables. The same worn surfaces. The same soft light stretching across the room. Breakfast is served again in its simple form. Warm, plain, steady. The kind of meal that asks for nothing more than quiet attention. Spoons rise and fall. Bread is broken carefully. There is no rush to finish, but there is also no lingering. Everything moves forward, gently. When the meal ends, the children rise together. Benches shift softly against the floor. The sound is brief, then gone. Another day unfolds. In the classrooms, lessons continue much as they always have. Letters are practiced again, even by those who already know them well. Words are repeated, slowly and carefully, spoken in low voices that never rise too high. There is comfort in repetition. Each letter formed again feels a little more certain. Each word spoken again feels a little more familiar. Numbers are written in neat lines. Simple sums are worked through step by step. The teacher moves among the desks with quiet purpose, offering small corrections, gentle guidance. Nothing is hurried. There is time for each task to settle. Elsewhere, in the workrooms, hands continue their steady labor. Fabric is folded, stitched, repaired. The movement of needle and thread becomes almost like breathing, regular, quiet, unbroken. Some children focus deeply on their work, their eyes following each small motion. Others allow their thoughts to drift slightly, carried by the rhythm of repetition. Cleaning tasks continue as well. Surfaces are wiped in slow, even strokes. Floors are swept with careful attention. The tools themselves, simple brushes, cloths, small buckets, are handled with familiarity. There is a quiet pride in order. In these spaces, neatness is not only expected, but gently valued. A clean surface, a properly arranged room, these small details bring a sense of calm that settles over everything. As the day moves forward, there are moments when the outside world seems closer. A distant sound may drift through a window. The faint roll of a cart along a street. The call of a bird passing overhead. Sometimes, the light shifts in such a way that it feels almost alive, moving slowly across a wall as if it, too, is part of the day's quiet rhythm. For a brief moment, a child might pause. Not fully stopping, not breaking from their task, but noticing. Just noticing. Then, gently, the moment passes. Work continues. Lessons continue. Time continues. In the small garden spaces, when allowed, the children move carefully among the plants. The soil feels cool beneath their fingers. Leaves brush softly against their hands. There is a quiet sense of care in these moments, a connection to something that grows slowly, just as their days unfold. The garden does not rush. It changes little by little. and in that way, it feels familiar. Afternoon arrives without announcement. The light becomes warmer, softer. Shadows stretch longer across the ground. Inside, the air feels slightly heavier, as if the building itself is settling into the later hours. Some children grow a little quieter now. Their movements slower. Their thoughts softer. There is no need to speak of tiredness. It is simply felt, shared silently among them. The structure of the day remains, but its edges begin to soften. Tasks are completed one by one. Lessons come to a gentle close. Tools are returned to their places with the same care they were taken. Nothing is left unfinished. Nothing is left out of place. As evening begins to gather, the corridors grow still again. Fewer footsteps. Longer pauses. The building returns to its quiet state, the same calm presence it held the night before. The children make their way back to the sleeping rooms. There is no rush to arrive. Each step is steady. Each movement familiar. The beds wait, unchanged. Blankets folded. Pillows set. The light fades slowly, turning from pale gold to soft gray. One by one, the children settle down. Some lie still immediately, their bodies ready for rest. Others shift slightly, adjusting their blankets, turning their heads to find a comfortable position. The sounds of the day fade gently. A distant door closes. A quiet breath. Then stillness. The kind of stillness that feels full, not empty. And in that stillness, another day comes to its quiet end. Days pass in this way, one after another, like soft waves that never rise too high. There is no sharp beginning. No sudden ending. Only a continuous flow of time, shaped by routine and softened by repetition. Within these walls, the children grow not by noticing change, but by living through it quietly. Their routines remain the same, yet something beneath them shifts slowly. Skills become more practiced. Movements become more certain. Even their silence feels more settled, as if it has found its place. Morning continues to arrive gently. The same pale light. The same quiet waking. The same steady beginning. And with each passing day, the children move through these moments with less hesitation. What once required attention now feels natural. What once felt new now feels known. In the classrooms, lessons deepen in small, careful ways. Reading becomes smoother. Words flow together more easily. Writing grows more even, more controlled. The chalkboard fills and is cleaned again, over and over, each lesson leaving only the faintest trace behind. There is no urgency to learn quickly. Only the quiet expectation to continue learning. The teachers maintain the same calm presence. Their voices remain even, their movements measured. They guide without raising their tone, correcting without drawing attention. Everything is done gently. In the workrooms, the tasks remain steady, but the hands performing them grow more skilled. Stitches become smaller, more precise. Cleaning becomes more efficient, though still unhurried. Each action gains a quiet confidence. The children do not speak often of improvement, but it is there, in the way their fingers move, in the way they carry out their tasks. Even the smallest progress feels like part of the natural flow of time. Outside, the seasons continue their slow turning. Rain falls on some days, tapping softly against the windows. The sound is steady, almost comforting, blending with the quiet life inside. On those days, the light is dimmer, the air cooler. The children move just as they always do. Unchanged. On clearer days, sunlight stretches further into the rooms. It rests on desks, on floors, on the edges of beds. Dust moves slowly within the light, drifting without purpose, adding a soft motion to the stillness. These small changes are noticed, but not spoken of. They simply become part of the day. Meals continue to arrive at their regular times. Always simple. Always enough. The dining hall remains a place of quiet gathering. The same tables, the same arrangement, the same gentle sounds of eating. Nothing surprises. Nothing disturbs. And in this steadiness, there is a certain calm. Afternoons pass as they always do. Work. Lessons. Small moments of pause. Sometimes, a child may look out of a window for just a second longer than usual. Their eyes may follow something distant, a passing shape, a shifting cloud. Then, gently, they return to their task. There is no need to hold on to the moment. It fades naturally. Evening comes again. Always slowly. Always gently. The light dims. The air cools. The sounds grow fewer. And once again, the children return to their beds. The same positions. The same quiet movements. The same stillness settling over the room. Days become weeks. Weeks begin to feel the same as days. Time stretches, not in a way that feels long or short, but in a way that feels continuous. Unbroken. Like a quiet path that extends forward without end. Within this path, the children continue. Growing, learning, resting. Always within the same calm rhythm. Always within the same quiet world. And as night settles once more over the building, the stillness returns again, just as it always does. Soft. Steady. Endless. There is a certain softness to repetition. It does not announce itself, yet it settles gently over everything, like a thin layer of quiet dust that gathers without being seen. In these long corridors and simple rooms, repetition shapes the days in ways that feel almost invisible. Morning arrives again. It always does. The light is slightly different now, perhaps a little warmer, perhaps softened by thin clouds outside. But inside, the change is subtle. The same walls receive it. The same beds rest beneath it. The children wake as they have many times before. Some open their eyes slowly, adjusting to the light. Others remain still for a moment longer, holding on to the quiet of sleep before letting it pass. There is no signal to rise, no sharp call. Only the quiet understanding that the day has begun again. Their movements are gentle. Clothing is put on with practiced ease. Hands move without hesitation, fastening buttons, smoothing fabric. The air carries the faint chill of early morning, brushing lightly against their skin. In these moments, there is a quiet closeness to everything. The room. The light. The sound of breathing. Nothing feels distant. As they step into the corridor, the familiar rhythm returns. Footsteps, soft and steady. The slight echo along the walls. The calm flow of movement toward the dining hall. Nothing has changed. And yet, with each passing day, everything feels a little more settled. Breakfast is served as always. Warm, plain, simple. The children sit together, their movements calm and measured. Spoons rise and fall in a steady pattern. Bread is broken quietly. There is no need for conversation. The silence here is not empty. It is full of small, gentle sounds. The quiet shift of a bench. The soft clink of a spoon. A breath taken slowly. These sounds repeat each day, creating a kind of quiet familiarity that settles deep within the space. After the meal, the day unfolds once more. The classrooms receive the children with the same stillness. Desks wait in straight rows, their surfaces worn smooth. The chalkboard stands at the front, ready for another lesson. The teacher begins, as always, in a calm voice. Words are spoken slowly, clearly, repeated when needed. There is no rush to move forward. Learning here is steady, like the passing of time itself. Letters become words. Words become sentences. Sentences are written carefully, each one shaped with quiet attention. Some children pause longer than others, their hands still as they think. Others move more quickly, though never hurried. Each follows their own pace within the same gentle structure. Elsewhere, the workrooms continue their quiet activity. The soft pull of thread through fabric. The careful folding of cloth. The steady motion of cleaning tools across surfaces. Each action repeats, again and again, until it feels almost like part of the body's natural rhythm. There is something calming in this repetition. It asks for attention, but not urgency. It fills the time without pressing against it. In the garden, when the day allows, the air feels slightly different. More open. More alive, though still quiet. The soil is cool beneath careful hands. Leaves shift softly in the light breeze. The sky above moves slowly, clouds passing without hurry. Here, time feels the same, yet somehow wider. The children tend to small tasks: watering, clearing, adjusting, each movement gentle and unforced. Even here, the rhythm remains. Nothing breaks it. Nothing disturbs its steady flow. As the hours pass, the light begins its slow change. Morning softens into afternoon. The brightness fades slightly, becoming warmer, lower. Inside, shadows stretch along the floors, moving so slowly they are hardly noticed. The building holds the quiet of the day within its walls. Every room carries the same calm presence. Every corridor echoes the same gentle footsteps. Afternoon work continues. Lessons draw closer to their end. There is no clear moment when one part of the day becomes another. It all blends together, like soft colors meeting at the edges. The children move through it without needing to mark the time. They simply continue. Some feel a quiet tiredness now. Not heavy. Not overwhelming. Just a gentle slowing of the body. Their movements soften. Their thoughts grow quieter. The day begins to settle. Evening approaches, just as it always does. The light fades gradually, slipping away from the walls and floors. The air cools again, returning to the softness of early morning. Tasks come to an end. Tools are set aside. Rooms are left in their careful order. The corridors grow still once more. Footsteps become fewer. Voices fade. The building returns to its quiet state. The children make their way back to their sleeping rooms. Nothing needs to be said. Nothing needs to be changed. Everything is already known. They settle into their beds, one by one. Blankets are drawn close. Bodies rest against familiar surfaces. The sounds of the day disappear slowly. A final movement. A quiet breath. Then stillness. The same stillness that has come before. The same stillness that will come again. And in that stillness, the day gently fades away. Time, in these places, does not move in sharp lines. It does not rush forward or fall behind. It moves softly, like a slow river that carries everything with it, without effort, without sound. Days pass. Then more days. And still, the rhythm remains. Morning. work, learning, evening, rest. Each part flows into the next so smoothly that it becomes difficult to see where one ends and another begins. For the children, this flow becomes the shape of life itself. They begin to feel the day before it happens. A quiet sense of what comes next. Not through thought, but through familiarity. The body remembers. The mind follows. Morning light touches the room once again. It feels softer now, perhaps because it has been seen so many times before. The same pale glow, the same quiet beginning. The children wake. There is no surprise in it. Only a gentle return. Their movements are slower in the early hours, but steady. Clothing is arranged, hands move carefully, and soon they are ready. The corridor waits. Always the same. Always calm. Footsteps echo lightly as they move toward the dining hall. Breakfast is waiting. It always is. The same warmth. The same simplicity. The same quiet gathering. Each child takes their place, not by instruction, but by habit. They know where to sit. They know how to move. Everything feels settled into place. The meal passes quietly. There is comfort in knowing exactly what to expect. Afterward, the day opens again. The classrooms receive their steady flow of learners. Lessons continue, each one building gently upon the last. There is no pressure to move faster, only the quiet encouragement to continue. Reading becomes smoother still. Writing more even. Numbers more familiar. The teacher's voice remains calm, never rising, never breaking the gentle rhythm of the room. In the workrooms, hands continue their tasks with growing ease. The needle moves more quickly now, though still carefully. The thread follows without resistance. Patterns are repeated without needing to be thought through. Cleaning tasks become almost effortless. Cloths move across surfaces in practiced motions. Floors are swept in steady lines. Each action follows the last without pause. There is a quiet sense of completion in these tasks. A beginning. A middle. An end. All contained within the same calm movement. Outside, the world continues its slow changes. Rain may come and go. Clouds may gather and drift away. But inside, the rhythm holds steady. Afternoon light softens once more. The building feels quieter now, as if it, too, is settling into the later hours. The air is still, carrying only the faintest sounds. Some children pause briefly in their work, their hands resting for just a moment. Not stopping, not leaving, just pausing. Then continuing. Always continuing. The day begins its gentle closing. Lessons come to an end. Work is completed. Rooms return to their quiet order. Evening moves in slowly, without any clear boundary. The light fades. The air cools. The sounds disappear. Once again, the children return to their beds. The same routine. The same calm. The same stillness waiting for them. They lie down. Blankets pulled close. Eyes closing slowly. The building grows quiet around them. And once more, the day slips away into the soft, steady silence of night. Nothing changes. And yet, everything continues. Quietly. Endlessly. There are days when the light feels softer than usual. Not brighter, not dimmer, just softer, as if it has passed through something gentle before reaching the windows. On those mornings, the rooms seem to hold a deeper calm. The walls, the floors, the simple rows of beds all appear slightly quieter, as though wrapped in a thin layer of stillness. The children wake into the softness. Their movements reflect it. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is disturbed. They rise as they always do, yet the feeling is slightly different, subtle, almost unnoticeable, but present. A slower breath. A longer pause before standing. A quieter step toward the corridor. These small changes are never spoken of. They simply exist for a moment, then fade. The routine continues. The corridor stretches ahead, long and familiar. The sound of footsteps returns, steady and light. Each step blends into the next, forming a quiet rhythm that fills the space without echoing too far. The dining hall waits. It always does. Morning meals are prepared, just as before. The same warmth, the same simplicity. The children take their places without needing direction. Their bodies remember where to go, how to sit, how to move. There is comfort in this knowing. The meal passes quietly, as it always has. The soft sound of eating, the gentle shift of weight on benches, the steady pattern of small movements. Nothing breaks the calm. Nothing interrupts the flow. Afterward, the day unfolds once more. But within the repetition, there are tiny variations so small they almost disappear. A slightly different tone in the teacher's voice. A thread that tangles briefly before being smoothed out. A cloud that passes across the sun, dimming the light for just a moment. These details drift through the day like faint echoes. They come. They go. They leave no lasting mark. In the classrooms, lessons continue with the same steady care. Words are spoken clearly, repeated when needed, allowed to settle slowly into the mind. The children follow along, their voices soft, their attention quiet but present. There is no pressure here. Only continuity. The chalk moves across the board, leaving pale lines that will soon be erased. The marks do not last, but the motion does. Again and again, the same gestures repeat. In the workrooms, the rhythm is just as steady. Hands move with growing certainty. Fabric is guided carefully, stitches placed one after another in neat, quiet lines. There is a sense of focus in these rooms, though it is not tense. It is calm. Deeply calm. Even the smallest tasks are given time to unfold. A cloth is folded, then placed. A surface is wiped, then checked. Nothing is left incomplete. Nothing is rushed. In the garden, when the day allows, the air carries a faint scent of earth and leaves. The children move slowly among the plants, their steps careful, their hands gentle. There is a quiet connection here. Not strong, not overwhelming. Just a soft awareness of something growing. Something changing, even if only a little. The sky above shifts slowly. Clouds drift without direction. Light moves across the ground in patterns that change too gradually to notice all at once. Time feels wide in these moments. But still steady. Always steady. Afternoon arrives gently, as it always does. The light lowers. The shadows lengthen. Inside, the air becomes softer, heavier with the quiet of the passing hours. The children continue their tasks, though their movements may slow just slightly. Not from effort, but from the natural rhythm of the day. Everything begins to settle. Evening approaches without sound. It does not announce itself. It simply arrives. The work ends. The lessons pause. The tools are returned to their places. The corridors grow still. Once again, the children walk back toward their sleeping rooms. Their steps are softer now, spaced further apart. The energy of the day has faded into something quieter, something calmer. The rooms wait. Always the same. Always ready. They settle into their beds, each movement small and unhurried. Blankets are drawn close. Eyes close slowly. Breathing becomes steady. The building grows quiet around them. A deep, gentle quiet. And in that quiet, the day fades completely. There is a kind of quiet that grows over time. Not sudden. Not noticeable at first. But slowly, day after day, it deepens. Within these walls, that quiet becomes part of everything. It lives in the corridors, resting along the edges of the floors. It lingers in the classrooms, between each spoken word. It settles into the workrooms, carried in the steady rhythm of hands at task. And it stays. The children move within this quiet as if it has always been there. They do not question it. They do not resist it. It simply becomes the space in which their lives unfold. Morning comes again. Soft. Uncertain at first, then gently clear. The light enters the room, touching the same places it touched the day before. The same beds. The same walls. The same still figures beginning to wake. There is a sense now that time is layering itself. One day resting upon another. Nothing replaced. Nothing removed. Just added. The children rise, their movements almost silent. Even the smallest sounds seem softer now, as if the building itself has learned to hold them gently. They step into the corridor. The rhythm begins again. Step by step. Calm and steady. The dining hall receives them. The meal is the same. The motions are the same. But the quiet feels deeper. More settled. As though it has been shaped by every day that came before. After breakfast, the day opens once more. The classrooms fill slowly. The teacher begins. Words are spoken into the stillness, and the stillness holds them without resistance. Learning continues. Not as something new, but as something ongoing. Something that never quite begins or ends. In the workrooms, the same tasks repeat. But now, there is almost no hesitation in the movements. Hands know what to do before the mind forms the thought. Each action flows into the next without pause. Thread passes through fabric. Cloth folds into place. Surfaces return to order. It all happens quietly. Effortlessly. In the garden, the changes are small but present. A leaf slightly larger. A stem slightly stronger. Growth that is not seen in a single moment, but felt over many. The children move among these changes with the same calm care, their hands steady, their steps light. They do not measure progress. They simply continue. Afternoon arrives once again. The light softens. The air settles. Everything begins to slow, not in pace, but in feeling. The day becomes quieter within itself. The sounds are fewer. The movements more spaced. The thoughts more distant. Evening follows. As it always does. The transition is gentle, almost invisible. One moment becomes another, without any clear line between them. The work ends. The lessons pause. The building returns to its quiet state. The children move back to their rooms. The same path. The same steps. The same ending. They lie down. Blankets close around them. The room grows still. And once again, the quiet deepens. Layer by layer. Day by day. Until it feels like it has always been there. And always will be. Some days pass so gently that they seem to leave no trace at all. They begin in the same soft light, unfold in the same steady rhythm, and fade into the same quiet evening without anything to mark them as different. And yet, even in these nearly identical days, something small is always changing. A breath held a moment longer. A step placed more carefully. A thought that lingers just a little before drifting away. These changes are not seen from the outside. They are not spoken of. But they are there, moving quietly beneath the surface of each repeated hour. Morning comes again. The light touches the room in its familiar way, brushing across the walls and resting gently on the beds. The children wake slowly, as they always do, their bodies already knowing what the day will ask of them. There is no need to think ahead. The day is already shaped. They rise. Dress. Step into the corridor. And once more, the quiet rhythm begins. The sound of footsteps returns, soft and even. It moves through the hallway like a slow current, carrying everyone forward without effort. The dining hall waits. It has not changed. It does not need to. The same tables stand in their rows. The same benches rest beside them. The same soft light falls across their surfaces. Breakfast is served. Warm. Plain. Steady. The children eat without hurry, their movements calm, their attention quiet. There is a gentle sameness to it, a sense that this moment has happened many times before and will happen many times again. And so, it passes. Afterward, the day opens once more. The classrooms receive their steady flow of learners. The teacher stands in the same place, the chalkboard ready for another lesson. Words are spoken, slowly and clearly, just as they have always been. The children follow along. Their voices are soft. Their movements are careful. There is no rush to reach the end of a lesson. Only the quiet continuation of learning. In the workrooms, the same gentle tasks unfold. Hands move with practiced ease. The repetition no longer feels like effort. It feels like something natural, something that simply happens as time moves forward. Thread follows needle. Cloth folds. Surfaces are cleaned. Each action connects to the next without interruption. Even the smallest tasks are given their full time. Nothing is skipped. Nothing is hurried. Outside, the light shifts slowly. Clouds may pass. Or the sky may remain clear. The changes are subtle, and inside the building, they are felt only in the way the light moves across the walls and floors. Sometimes, a child may notice the light resting differently than before. It may catch the edge of a desk, or stretch further along the floor. For a moment, attention lingers there. Then gently returns. The rhythm continues. Afternoon arrives, soft and steady. The air feels quieter now, as if the day itself is growing still. The children continue their tasks, but their movements carry a slight heaviness not from strain, but from the passing of time. It is a natural slowing. A quiet settling. The building holds this feeling within its walls. Every room shares it. Every corridor echoes it. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons come to an end. Work is completed. Everything returns to its place. Evening approaches without sound. The light fades. The air cools. The quiet deepens. Once again, the children return to their sleeping rooms. Their steps are softer now. More spaced. The energy of the day has faded into calm stillness. They settle into their beds. Blankets drawn close. Bodies resting against familiar surfaces. The sounds of the building fade. A final movement. A quiet breath. Then stillness. The same stillness. Always the same. And as night settles fully, the day disappears without leaving a mark. There is a feeling that grows in places where time moves slowly. It is not easy to describe. It is not something that can be seen or touched. But it is there, quietly present in every moment. It is the feeling of continuity. Of days that do not stand alone, but blend into one another so gently that they become something larger, something unbroken. Within these institutions, that feeling settles deeply into the walls, the floors, the air itself. The children live inside it. They wake into it each morning. They move through it each day. They rest within it each night. And slowly, it becomes part of them. Morning arrives once more. The light is soft, as it always is. The room is still. The children wake. There is no difference in the way the day begins, and yet each beginning feels quietly complete, as if it does not need anything more. They rise from their beds, their movements steady and familiar. The routine no longer feels like something they follow. It feels like something they are part of. They dress. They step into the corridor. The rhythm begins again. Footsteps echo softly, filling the space with a calm, even sound. The dining hall waits. Breakfast is served. Everything is as it has always been. And in that sameness, there is a quiet sense of stability. Nothing unexpected. Nothing uncertain. Just the gentle continuation of the day. After the meal, the children move into their tasks. Classrooms fill. Workrooms begin their quiet activity. The day unfolds without needing to be guided. It simply moves forward. In the classroom, the teacher's voice remains calm and steady. Lessons continue, building slowly upon what has already been learned. There is no need to hurry forward, no need to reach an end. Learning here is not about arrival. It is about continuation. In the workrooms, the repetition deepens. Each movement feels more natural than the last. The hands know their tasks without needing direction. The rhythm is so steady that it almost disappears into the background. Time passes within these movements, but it is not counted. It is simply felt. Outside, the world continues its quiet changes. But inside, the rhythm holds. Afternoon comes again. Soft. Unmarked. The light shifts slowly. The air grows still. The children continue their work, though their movements carry the gentle weight of the passing hours. Nothing needs to be said. Nothing needs to be changed. Everything continues as it always has. Evening arrives. The transition is so smooth it is almost invisible. One moment becomes the next. The day closes without a clear end. Tasks are completed. Rooms are set in order. The building grows quiet once more. The children return to their beds. The same path. The same steps. The same quiet settling. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The stillness returns. Deep. Soft. Endless. And as the night takes its place, the day fades completely, becoming just another quiet layer in the long, unbroken flow of time. There are moments, very small and quiet, when the rhythm of the day seems to pause, just slightly. Not enough to be noticed clearly. Not enough to change anything. But enough to be felt, deep within the stillness. It might happen in the early morning, when the light lingers a little longer along the edge of a bed. Or in the corridor, when footsteps briefly fall out of step before settling back into their gentle pattern. These moments do not last. They never do. They pass as softly as they arrive, leaving the rhythm untouched. Morning comes again. The same soft light. The same quiet air. The same slow waking. The children rise, their movements steady, familiar. Each action follows the last without thought. The routine is no longer something they remember, it is something they live without effort. The room fills with gentle motion. Clothing adjusted. Blankets folded. A few soft steps toward the door. And then, the corridor. It stretches ahead, unchanged. The sound of footsteps begins again, forming that quiet, even rhythm that carries through the building. No one rushes. No one lingers too long. Everything moves as it always does. The dining hall receives them. It is calm. Predictable. Steady. Breakfast is served. Warm, simple, quiet. The children sit and eat without speaking much, their attention resting in the small, repeated movements of the meal. There is comfort in knowing exactly what comes next, in not needing to wonder. When the meal ends, the day unfolds once more. The classrooms fill slowly. The teacher stands in place, the chalkboard waiting. Lessons begin, just as they always do, without any clear start or signal. Words are spoken, repeated, written, erased. The pattern continues. The children follow along, their hands moving across paper, their voices soft when they speak. Learning here is not something that pushes forward. It moves gently, step by step, without urgency. In the workrooms, the quiet labor continues. Hands move with ease now, guided by repetition. The needle finds its place without hesitation. The thread follows smoothly. Each stitch is placed carefully, forming lines that are even and steady. Cleaning tasks move in the same calm rhythm. A cloth passes over a surface. Then again. Then once more. Until the motion itself becomes the focus, more than the result. There is something deeply quiet in this repetition. It holds the mind in a gentle place, where nothing needs to change too quickly. Outside, the day continues its slow turning. The light shifts. The air moves. But inside, the rhythm holds everything in place. Afternoon comes, soft and unmarked. The building seems to settle deeper into its quiet. Sounds grow fewer. Movements slow just slightly, not from effort, but from the natural passing of time. Some children pause for a moment longer than usual. A hand resting still. A gaze drifting briefly toward the window. Then, gently, they return. Always returning. The day begins to close. Lessons come to an end without announcement. Work is completed, tools set aside, rooms return to their careful order. The corridors grow still once more. Evening arrives quietly. The light fades slowly, leaving behind a soft gray calm. The air cools. The building seems to breathe more slowly, as if settling into rest. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are softer now. More spaced. The rhythm slows. They reach their beds. The same places. The same arrangement. Everything unchanged. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing. Breathing steady. The sounds of the day disappear. A faint creak. A distant step. Then nothing. Only stillness. Deep and gentle. And within that stillness, the day fades completely, leaving no sharp edges behind. As time continues its quiet passage, the days begin to feel less like separate moments and more like a single, unbroken presence. There is no clear beginning. No clear end. Only a steady unfolding. Within these walls, the children live inside this unfolding, carried gently from one moment to the next without needing to guide the way. Morning returns, as it always does. The light arrives softly, touching the room in familiar ways. The same corners glow. The same shadows retreat. The children wake. There is no surprise in it. Only continuation. They rise slowly, their movements calm and certain. The routine has become something deeper than habit. It is now part of the quiet structure of their lives. They dress. They step into the corridor. The rhythm begins again. Footsteps echo softly, blending into one continuous sound that moves through the building. There is no beginning to it, no end. Only flow. The dining hall waits. Breakfast is served. The same warmth. The same simplicity. The same quiet gathering. Each child takes their place without thought. Their bodies remember. Their movements follow patterns that no longer need to be learned. The meal passes in silence, or near silence. Small sounds fill the space. Then fade. Afterward, the day opens again. The classrooms receive their steady flow of learners. The teacher begins, as always, in a calm and even voice. Lessons continue, building gently upon what has already been laid. There is no need to hurry forward. Everything arrives in its time. Words are written. Read. Spoken softly. Numbers are practiced again, their shapes becoming more familiar with each repetition. In the workrooms, the rhythm deepens further. The hands of the children move with quiet certainty. The tasks no longer feel separate from the passing of time, they feel like part of it. Each stitch. Each movement of cloth. Each careful action. All of it blends into the slow flow of the day. Cleaning continues with the same calm precision. Surfaces are wiped. Floors are swept. Everything returns to order, again and again. There is no final point. Only continuation. In the garden, the small changes continue to gather. A leaf grows slightly larger. A stem bends slightly toward the light. These changes are not seen all at once, but they are felt over time. The children move among them with the same quiet care, their presence gentle, their actions steady. Afternoon arrives. Soft. Almost invisible in its coming. The light lowers. The air stills. The building holds the quiet of the day within its walls. The children continue their tasks, though their movements carry the softness of the later hours. Everything begins to settle. Not stopping. Just softening. Evening follows. As it always does. The transition is gentle, without edges. One moment becomes another. The day closes quietly. Work ends. Lessons pause. Rooms return to their stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. The same steps. The same path. The same quiet return. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. The room grows still. The sounds fade. And once again, the day disappears into the calm, steady silence of night. Not gone. Just resting beneath the next one that will come. There is a quiet depth to days that repeat. At first, they may seem simple, almost unchanged. But as they pass, one after another, they begin to gather a kind of weight, not heavy, not burdensome, but present in a soft and steady way. Within these walls, That quiet depth settles into everything. It rests in the corners of rooms. It lingers along the corridors. It moves gently with each small sound, each careful step. Morning comes again. The light enters slowly, just as it always has. It touches the same places, falls across the same surfaces, and reveals the same stillness before the day begins. The children wake into this familiar world. There is no uncertainty in their movements now. Everything feels known. They rise from their beds with quiet ease. Their hands move without hesitation as they dress. The room fills with soft motion, but never noise. Even the smallest sound seems to settle quickly, absorbed by the calm of the space. The corridor waits beyond. Long. Still. Unchanged. Footsteps begin again, forming that gentle rhythm that carries through the building. Each step connects to the next, creating a steady flow that never breaks. The dining hall receives them. The same arrangement. The same quiet order. Breakfast is served. Warm and plain. Simple and steady. The children sit, their movements measured, their attention resting in the small, repeated actions of eating. There is a quiet comfort in knowing exactly how this moment will unfold. Nothing surprises. Nothing disturbs. After the meal, the day continues. Classrooms fill with soft voices and steady motion. The teacher begins the lesson, just as always, without needing to signal its start. Words are spoken into the calm air, repeated gently, allowed to settle without pressure. The children follow. Their writing grows more certain. Their reading more fluid. But these changes are not noticed as achievements. They are simply part of the quiet passage of time. In the workrooms, the same rhythm continues. Hands move with quiet skill. The needle passes through fabric with ease. The thread follows without resistance. Each stitch is placed carefully, forming patterns that are even and steady. Cleaning tasks move in the same calm way. A cloth glides across a surface. Then again. Then once more. Until the motion itself becomes almost invisible. There is no need to hurry. No need to change. Everything unfolds exactly as it should. Outside, the light shifts slowly. The sky changes in small, quiet ways. But inside, the rhythm holds steady. Afternoon arrives, as it always does. The light softens. The air grows still. The building seems to settle deeper into its quiet presence. Some children feel the gentle slowing of the day. Their movements become softer. Their thoughts quieter. There is no need to speak of it. It is simply felt. The hours pass without being counted. Each one blending into the next. Each one carrying the same calm. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons come to an end without announcement. Work is completed with the same careful attention it began with. Tools are returned to their places. Everything is left in order. The corridors grow quiet once more. Evening arrives. Soft. Unseen. The light fades gradually, leaving behind a gentle dimness. The air cools. The building returns to its stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are slower now. More spaced. The rhythm of the day has softened into rest. They reach their beds. The same places. The same arrangement. Everything unchanged. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade away. A distant creak. A quiet breath. Then stillness. Deep and steady. And in that stillness, the day becomes just another quiet layer in the long, unbroken flow of time. As the days continue, something gentle begins to form beneath the surface of routine. It is not a change in what happens. The structure remains the same. Morning follows night. Work follows morning. Evening follows afternoon. Nothing shifts in a way that can be easily seen. And yet, something within the experience of these moments begins to soften. The children move through their days with a deeper quiet now. Not silence alone, but a kind of calm that rests beneath each action. It is present in the way they walk, in the way they sit, in the way their hands move through familiar tasks. Morning arrives again. The light is soft. The air is still. The room wakes slowly. The children rise without hesitation. There is no pause to wonder what comes next. They already know. Their movements are smooth, almost effortless. Clothing is arranged with practiced ease. The room fills with gentle motion that never becomes noise. The corridor waits. Always the same. Always calm. Footsteps begin again. Soft echoes along the walls. A steady rhythm that fills the space without disturbing it. The dining hall receives them. The same quiet order. The same simple arrangement. Breakfast is served. Warm. Plain. Unchanging. The children eat slowly, their movements steady. There is no need to rush. There is no need to linger. Everything moves forward in its own quiet time. After the meal, the day opens once more. Classrooms fill. Workrooms begin their gentle activity. The rhythm continues. In the classroom, the teacher's voice flows evenly through the air. Lessons unfold without pressure, each word placed carefully, each idea given time to settle. The children follow along. Their writing is smoother now. Their reading more confident. But these changes remain quiet, unspoken. Simply part of the passing days. In the workrooms, the repetition deepens further. Each movement feels natural. Each task flows into the next. Hands no longer hesitate. They move with quiet certainty, guided by the rhythm that has been repeated so many times. Cleaning continues in the same calm way. Surfaces are returned to order. Floors are swept in steady lines. Everything is as it should be. In the garden, the slow changes of growth continue. Leaves shift slightly. Stems reach gently toward the light. The children move among them with care, their presence light, their actions steady. They do not measure these changes. They simply take part in them. Afternoon arrives. Soft. Gradual. The light lowers. The air becomes still. The building holds the quiet of the day within its walls. The children continue their tasks, though everything feels softer now. More distant. More calm. Evening approaches. As it always does. Without sound. Without sudden change. The day begins to close. Work ends. Lessons pause. Rooms return to their stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. The same path. The same steps. The same quiet return. They settle into their beds. Blankets drawn close. Bodies resting. The room grows still. The sounds fade. And once again, the day disappears into the calm, endless quiet of night. Gently. Completely. Without leaving anything behind but the soft memory of its passing. There is a gentle way in which time settles into familiar places. It does not arrive all at once, and it does not ask to be noticed. Instead, it gathers slowly, resting in small details: the worn edge of a wooden desk, the smooth surface of a handrail, the quiet echo that lingers just a moment longer in a corridor. Within these institutions, time has settled deeply. It rests in the walls. It moves softly through each room. It follows the children as they pass through their steady days. Morning comes again. As it always does. The light is soft, pale at first, then slowly growing clearer. It reaches across the room, touching each bed in turn, revealing the same calm arrangement that has been there for so long. The children wake into this light. Their movements are unhurried. Familiar. They rise from their beds, their hands moving with quiet certainty as they prepare for the day. There is no hesitation, no searching for what comes next. Everything is already known. The room fills with gentle motion. Fabric shifts softly. Feet meet the floor. A few quiet breaths are taken before the day begins fully. Then, the corridor. It waits in its long stillness, just beyond the doorway. The children step into it, one by one. Their footsteps begin again, forming that quiet, steady rhythm that moves through the building like a slow, continuous flow. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing changes it. It simply continues. The dining hall receives them. The same long tables. The same worn surfaces. The same arrangement that has remained untouched by time. Breakfast is served. Warm. Plain. Consistent. The children sit, their movements calm and measured. They eat without speaking much, their attention resting in the small, repeated motions of the meal. There is comfort here. Not in variety, but in sameness. Each moment unfolds exactly as expected. After the meal, the day continues. The classrooms fill with quiet presence. The teacher begins the lesson in the same calm voice, steady and even. Words are spoken, repeated, written, then gently erased. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. Learning moves forward in its own time. The children follow along. Their hands move more easily now. Their thoughts settle more quickly. Each lesson feels like a continuation, not a beginning. In the workrooms, the rhythm is deeper still. Hands move with quiet skill. The needle passes through fabric with ease, the thread following without resistance. Each stitch is placed carefully, forming lines that are even and steady. There is a sense of quiet focus here. Not intense. Not heavy. Just present. Cleaning tasks continue in the same gentle way. A cloth moves across a surface. Then again. Then once more. Each motion steady, each result calm. Everything returns to order. Always. Outside, the day moves slowly. The light shifts. The air changes. But inside, the rhythm remains untouched. Afternoon arrives. Soft and gradual. The light becomes warmer, then begins to fade. The building feels quieter now, as if it is settling into itself. The children continue their tasks, but their movements carry a gentle softness. The day has begun to slow, not in pace, but in feeling. Everything feels more distant. More still. The hours pass without being counted. They blend together, forming a continuous flow that carries the children gently forward. Evening approaches. As it always does. Without sound. Without sudden change. The work comes to an end. Lessons pause. Tools are set aside. Rooms return to their careful order. The corridors grow still once more. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are slower now. More spaced. The rhythm softens. They reach their beds. The same places. The same quiet arrangement. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade. A distant creak. A quiet breath. Then stillness. Deep and gentle. And in that stillness, the day settles into memory, becoming another quiet layer in the long, unbroken passage of time. There is a calm that comes from knowing what each day will bring. Not in detail, but in feeling. A steady rhythm that does not change, a pattern that repeats so gently that it becomes part of everything. Within these walls, that calm is always present. It rests beneath each movement. It follows each step. It carries the children through their days without effort. Morning arrives again. Softly. Quietly. The light enters the room, touching the same surfaces, revealing the same stillness. The children wake as they always do, their movements slow and certain. There is no need to think. No need to plan. The day is already waiting. They rise. Dress. Move into the corridor. The rhythm begins again. Footsteps echo lightly, filling the space with a soft, steady sound. The building seems to hold this sound gently, allowing it to pass without disturbance. The dining hall waits. Breakfast is served. The same warmth. The same simplicity. The same quiet gathering. The children sit and eat, their movements calm, their attention resting in the moment. There is no urgency here, only continuation. Afterward, the day unfolds once more. The classrooms receive their steady flow of learners. The teacher begins, voice calm and even. Lessons continue, building gently upon what has come before. There is no pressure to move quickly. Only the quiet expectation to continue. The children follow. Their writing is smooth. Their reading steady. Each action flows naturally from the last. In the workrooms, the rhythm continues without interruption. Hands move with quiet confidence. Tasks are completed with care, each step following the next without pause. The repetition is no longer noticed. It simply exists. Cleaning continues in the same calm way. Surfaces are wiped. Floors are swept. Everything returns to order, again and again. Outside, the world shifts slowly. Light changes. Air moves. But inside, the rhythm holds steady. Afternoon arrives. Soft. Gradual. The building grows quieter, the sounds fewer, the movements slower. The children continue their tasks, though everything feels softer now. More distant. More calm. The day begins to close. Lessons end. Work is completed. Rooms are left in order. Evening comes. Without sound. Without change. The light fades. The air cools. The building settles into stillness. The children return to their rooms. The same path. The same steps. The same quiet return. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds fade. The stillness returns. And once again, the day disappears into the calm, endless quiet of night. Unbroken. Unchanged. Continuing. There are times when the quiet feels deeper than before. Not because anything has changed, but because the stillness has had more time to settle. It gathers slowly, day after day, resting in each corner, softening every sound, smoothing every movement. Within these walls, that quiet becomes something steady and constant. It does not fade. It does not shift. It simply remains. Morning comes again. The light enters gently, as if it already knows the room. It moves across the beds, along the walls, across the floor, touching everything in the same calm way. The children wake. Their movements are slow, but certain. There is no hesitation now. Everything is familiar. They rise from their beds, dress in silence, and prepare for the day without needing to think about it. The routine carries them forward, step by step. The corridor waits. Long. Still. Unchanging. Footsteps begin again. Soft echoes fill the space, forming that quiet rhythm that never breaks. Each step connects to the next, creating a steady flow that moves through the building without interruption. The dining hall receives them. The same arrangement. The same calm order. Breakfast is served. Warm. Simple. Unchanged. The children sit and eat quietly, their movements steady, their attention resting in the small actions of the meal. There is a quiet comfort in the sameness, a sense that nothing needs to be different. When the meal ends, the day continues. Classrooms fill. Workrooms begin their quiet activity. The rhythm remains. In the classroom, the teacher speaks in a calm, even voice. Lessons unfold slowly, each word placed carefully, each idea allowed to settle. The children follow along, their hands moving steadily across paper, their voices soft when they speak. There is no urgency here. Only continuation. In the workrooms, hands move with quiet skill. The repetition has become so natural that it feels effortless. Each stitch, each fold, each careful motion blends into the next. Cleaning tasks continue in the same calm way. A cloth moves across a surface. Then again. Then once more. Everything returns to order. Always. Outside, the light shifts slowly. The sky changes in small, quiet ways. But inside, the rhythm holds everything in place. Afternoon arrives. Soft. Unnoticed. The building seems to settle deeper into its stillness. Sounds grow fewer. Movements become softer. The children continue their tasks, but there is a quiet slowing now. Not from effort, but from the natural passage of the day. Everything feels calmer. More distant. More still. The hours pass without being counted. They blend together, forming one continuous moment. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons come to an end. Work is completed. Tools are returned to their places. The corridors grow quiet once more. Evening arrives. Without sound. Without change. The light fades. The air cools. The building returns to its deep stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are slower now. More spaced. The rhythm softens. They reach their beds. The same places. The same arrangement. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade away. A faint creak. A quiet breath. Then stillness. Deep. Soft. Endless. And in that stillness, the day becomes another quiet layer in the long, unbroken passage of time. There is a quiet patience in these days. A patience that does not need to be spoken, because it is already present in everything. It lives in the slow movement of time, in the steady rhythm of footsteps, in the gentle repetition of each task. Nothing here rushes. Nothing presses forward. Everything unfolds at its own calm pace. Morning arrives again. as it always does. The light enters the room softly, touching the same surfaces, revealing the same quiet arrangement. The children wake, their movements steady and familiar. There is no surprise in the beginning of the day. Only continuation. They rise from their beds, dress in silence, and prepare without hesitation. Each action follows the last in a smooth, unbroken flow. The corridor waits beyond. Still. Calm. Unchanged. Footsteps begin again. Soft echoes move through the space, forming that quiet rhythm that has become part of everything. The dining hall receives them. The same long tables. The same quiet order. Breakfast is served. Warm. Plain. Steady. The children sit and eat, their movements calm, their attention resting in the moment. There is no need for anything more. After the meal, the day unfolds once again. Classrooms fill with quiet presence. The teacher begins, voice even and calm. Lessons continue, building gently upon what has come before. The children follow along. Their writing smooth. Their reading steady. Everything moves forward without effort. In the workrooms, the rhythm continues. Hands move with quiet confidence. Tasks are completed with care, each step following the next without pause. The repetition has become something deeper now. Not just routine, but part of the flow of time itself. Cleaning continues in the same gentle way. Surfaces are wiped. Floors are swept. Everything returns to order. Always. Outside, the world shifts slowly. Light changes. Air moves. But inside, the rhythm holds steady. Afternoon arrives. Soft. Gradual. The building grows quieter, the sounds fewer, the movements softer. The children continue their tasks, though everything feels calmer now. More distant. More still. The day begins to close. Lessons end. Work is completed. Rooms return to their quiet order. Evening comes. Without sound. Without change. The light fades. The air cools. The building settles into stillness. The children return to their rooms. The same path. The same steps. The same quiet return. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds fade. The stillness returns. And once again, the day disappears into the calm, endless quiet of night. Unbroken. Unchanging. Continuing. There is a point in long repetition where the mind stops expecting anything different. Not because everything has been noticed and understood, but because nothing arrives that breaks the pattern. Within these walls, that feeling becomes quiet and steady, like a background to every moment. Morning comes again. Soft light spreads through the room in the same familiar way, resting on the same beds, the same floors, the same still air that has been here so many times before. The children wake. Their eyes open slowly. Their bodies already know the day. There is no need to search for what comes next. They rise. Dress. Move forward. Each motion follows the one before it, smooth and unbroken. The corridor receives them as it always does. Long. Quiet. Patient. Footsteps begin again, forming that steady rhythm that never seems to end. It moves through the building gently, like a soft current that carries everything along without resistance. The dining hall waits. Breakfast is served. The same warmth. The same simplicity. The same quiet order. The children sit and eat, their movements calm and measured. The sound of the meal is small and steady, fading quickly into the background of the room. There is nothing new here. And nothing missing. Afterward, the day continues. Classrooms fill with the same calm presence. The teacher begins in a soft, even voice. Lessons unfold slowly, each part given its time, each idea allowed to settle. The children follow along without effort. Their writing is smooth now. Their reading steady. But even this improvement feels quiet, as if it belongs naturally to the rhythm rather than standing apart from it. In the workrooms, the repetition deepens further. Hands move with certainty. The needle passes through fabric in a familiar motion. Thread follows without resistance. Each stitch is placed carefully, forming patterns that are even and calm. Cleaning continues with the same gentle rhythm. A cloth moves across a surface. Then again. Then again. Until the motion itself becomes indistinguishable from stillness. Everything returns to order. Always. Outside, the world continues its slow and distant changes. But inside, nothing disturbs the flow. Afternoon arrives. Soft. Almost unnoticeable. The light lowers gradually, spreading across the rooms in long, quiet shapes. The air becomes still, as if the building is holding its breath. The children continue their tasks. But there is a softness now in their movements. A quiet easing. Not fatigue in a sharp sense, but a gentle settling, like the day itself growing heavier and more calm. The hours pass without measure. One blending into the next. No clear edges. No sharp turns. Just continuation. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons come to an end. Work is finished. Tools are set aside. Rooms are returned to their calm arrangement. The corridors grow still once more. Evening arrives. Without sound. Without change. The light fades. The air cools. The building settles into its deep quiet. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are slower now. More spaced. The rhythm softens toward rest. They reach their beds. The same places. The same quiet arrangement. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade away. A distant movement. A soft breath. Then stillness. Deep. Soft. Endless. And in that stillness, the day settles once more into the long, unbroken flow of time. Quietly continuing. Without end, there is a kind of silence that does not feel empty. It feels full, instead. Full of time passing gently, full of repetition that has become familiar, full of days that have blended so softly into one another that they can no longer be separated. Within these walls, that silence is always present. It is not new. It is not old. It simply is. Morning arrives again. As it always does. The light moves slowly into the room, touching the same surfaces it has touched many times before. The beds, the walls, the floor, everything is familiar in its stillness. The children wake. There is no need for thought at the beginning of the day. Their bodies already understand what comes next. They rise from their beds, their movements calm and unhurried. Clothing is adjusted with quiet care. Hands move without hesitation. The room fills with soft motion. Then, slowly, it settles again. The corridor waits beyond the doorway. Long. Still. Endless in its quiet repetition. Footsteps begin once more, forming that steady rhythm that carries through the building like a slow, continuous breath. Nothing interrupts it. Nothing changes it. It simply continues. The dining hall receives them. The same arrangement. The same calm order. Breakfast is served. Warm. Plain. Steady. The children sit together, their movements small and measured. The sound of the meal is soft, fading quickly into the background of the room. There is comfort in the sameness. A comfort that does not need to be spoken. After the meal, the day unfolds again. Classrooms fill with quiet presence. The teacher begins in the same calm voice, and lessons continue as they always have, unfolding slowly, without urgency. Words are spoken, written, repeated, allowed to settle. The children follow along. Their movements are smooth now, almost automatic in their familiarity. In the workrooms, the rhythm deepens further. Hands move with quiet certainty. The needle passes through fabric in the same gentle cycle. Thread follows, then tightens, then rests. Again. And again. Cleaning continues in the same steady flow. A cloth moves across a surface. Then returns. Then moves again. Everything becomes part of the same continuous motion. There is no beginning to it. No end. Only continuation. Outside, the world shifts in ways that are distant and soft. But inside, the rhythm remains unchanged. Afternoon arrives. Quietly. Gradually. The light lowers across the rooms, stretching into long shapes that fade slowly as time passes. The air becomes still, carrying the calm weight of the day's later hours. The children continue their tasks. But everything feels slower now. Not in effort, but in presence. The day is moving toward its closing, and that movement is felt in the quiet softening of everything. Hours pass without measure. One blending into the next. Until there is no clear separation between them. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons come to an end. Work is completed. Tools are returned to their places. Rooms settle back into order. The corridors grow quiet once more. Evening arrives. Without sound. Without change. The light fades. The air cools. The building returns to its deep, steady stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are soft now. Evenly spaced. The rhythm of the day easing into rest. They reach their beds. The same places. The same arrangement. Everything unchanged. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade away completely. A faint movement. A quiet breath. Then stillness. Deep. Soft. Endless. And in that stillness, the day settles into the long, continuous passage of time. Gently. Quietly. As always. There are nights when even the memory of sound feels far away. Not absent, not gone, but softened like something that has drifted so far back into time that it no longer presses against the present. Within these walls, the night holds that kind of softness. It gathers gently over everything. It does not rush in. It simply arrives, and stays. Morning comes again, though it does not feel like a sudden arrival. It feels like something that has always been approaching, slowly and quietly, until it is simply here. Light returns to the room in the same familiar way. It touches the same corners. It rests on the same beds. It moves across the same worn surfaces. The children wake. There is no surprise in their movement. No hesitation. They rise as they always do, their actions smooth and unbroken, as if carried forward by something deeper than thought. Clothing is adjusted. Hands move gently. The room fills with the soft rhythm of preparation. Then it fades again into stillness. The corridor waits beyond the door. Long. Calm. Unchanged. Footsteps begin once more. Soft and steady, they move through the building like a quiet current that never ends. Each sound is brief, but together they form something continuous. The dining hall receives them. The same tables. The same arrangement. The same quiet order that has never needed to be altered. Breakfast is served. Warm. Simple. Familiar. The children sit and eat without urgency. Their movements are small, careful, and steady. The sound of the meal is gentle, fading quickly into the background of the room. Nothing here calls for attention. Everything is already known. Afterward, the day continues. Classrooms fill with quiet presence. The teacher speaks in the same calm voice, and lessons unfold as they always have, without interruption or change in tone. Words are repeated, written, learned slowly, in their own time. The children follow along, their movements becoming more natural with each passing day. In the workrooms, the rhythm continues. Hands move with quiet ease. The needle passes through fabric again and again, forming patterns that feel endless in their continuity. Cleaning continues as well. A cloth moves across a surface. Then again. Then again. Each motion blending into the next until it becomes part of something larger than itself. There is no need to mark the beginning or the end. Only the steady flow of action. Outside, the world continues its distant shifting. But inside, nothing breaks the calm structure of the day. Afternoon arrives. Softly. Without notice. The light lowers, stretching across the rooms in long, quiet shapes. The air becomes still, holding the calm weight of passing hours. The children continue their tasks. But their movements are slower now. Not from effort, but from the natural settling of the day. Everything feels more distant. More quiet. More still. The hours pass without measurement. One blending into another. Until they are no longer separate. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons end. Work is completed. Tools are returned to their places. Rooms fall back into quiet order. The corridors grow still once more. Evening arrives. Without sound. Without change. The light fades gently. The air cools. The building settles into deep stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are soft now. Even and unhurried. The rhythm of the day dissolves into rest. They reach their beds. The same places. The same calm arrangement. Everything as it has always been. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade completely. A distant movement. A quiet breath. Then stillness. Deep. Soft. Endless. And in that stillness, the day becomes part of the long, unbroken flow of time. Continuing quietly. Without end. There is a strange comfort in things that do not change. Not because change is absent, but because it is so slow that it feels like it is not happening at all. Within these walls, that slowness becomes the shape of life itself. Morning arrives again. Not sharply. Not suddenly. but in a way that feels almost like remembering something that has already been lived before. Light returns to the room. Soft. Familiar. It touches the same places, as if it has never left them. The children wake. There is no pause between waking and movement now. One flows into the other, gently, without resistance. They rise from their beds, their actions calm and practiced. Clothing is adjusted in quiet motions. The room fills with a brief, soft activity, then settles again. The corridor waits beyond the door. Always the same. Always still. Footsteps begin. A soft rhythm spreads through the building, unhurried and steady. It does not grow louder or weaker. It simply continues. The dining hall receives them. The same arrangement. The same calm order. Breakfast is served. Warm. Plain. Reliable in its sameness. The children sit and eat quietly. Their movements are small and unbroken. The sound of the meal fades quickly into the stillness around them. Nothing in the room asks for attention. Everything already feels known. After the meal, the day unfolds. Classrooms fill. The teacher begins in the same calm voice as always. Lessons continue, flowing gently from one moment to the next without urgency or pause. Words are spoken, written, repeated, allowed to settle into memory like something softly placed down. The children follow along. Their movements are steady now, almost effortless in their familiarity. In the workrooms, the rhythm continues. Hands move without hesitation. The needle passes through fabric again and again, each motion identical to the last, yet never needing to be questioned. Cleaning continues in the same quiet way. A cloth moves across a surface. Then returns. Then moves again. The repetition becomes something like breathing. Unthinking. Constant. Outside, the world continues its distant and unseen motion. But inside, the pattern holds everything in place. Afternoon arrives. Softly. Without interruption. The light lowers across the rooms, stretching into quiet shapes that slowly fade as time passes. The air becomes still, carrying the gentle weight of the later hours. The children continue their tasks. But everything feels slower now. Not in action, but in presence. The day is moving toward its close, and that movement is felt in the quiet softening of everything around them. Hours pass without being marked. One blending into the next. Until they can no longer be separated. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons end. Work is finished. Tools are returned to their places. Rooms settle back into order. The corridors grow quiet once more. Evening arrives. Without sound. Without change. The light fades gently. The air cools. The building returns to its deep and familiar stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are slow. Even. Unhurried. The rhythm of the day dissolves into rest. They reach their beds. The same places. The same arrangement. Everything unchanged. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade away completely. A faint movement. A distant breath. Then stillness. Deep. Soft. Endless. And in that stillness, the day becomes part of the long, continuous passage of time. Quietly continuing. As it always has. There is a kind of quiet that becomes easier to recognize only after it has been present for a long time. It does not announce itself. It does not change shape. It simply remains, steady and soft, until it feels like it has always been there. Within these walls, that quiet has settled into everything. Morning arrives again. The light returns in its familiar way, gentle and even, spreading across the room without hurry. It rests on the same places it has rested so many times before. The children wake. Their movements are slow, but certain. There is no sense of beginning anymore, only continuation. They rise from their beds, the motion of their bodies flowing naturally into the structure of the day. Clothing is adjusted with quiet care. Hands move without thought. The room fills briefly with soft activity, then becomes still again. The corridor waits beyond the door. Long. Calm. Unchanged. Footsteps begin. A steady rhythm moves through the building, soft and continuous. It does not rise or fall. It simply carries on, like a quiet current through still water. The dining hall receives them. The same tables. The same arrangement. The same calm order that has remained untouched for so long. Breakfast is served. Warm. Simple. Familiar in every detail. The children sit and eat without urgency. Their movements are small and steady. The sound of the meal fades quickly into the background of the room. Nothing calls for attention. Everything is already known. Afterward, the day continues. Classrooms fill with quiet presence. The teacher begins in the same calm voice, and lessons unfold as they always have, gently and without interruption. Words are spoken, written, repeated until they feel settled. The children follow along, their actions smooth and unbroken. In the workrooms, the rhythm continues. Hands move with quiet certainty. The needle passes through fabric again and again, forming lines that feel endless in their repetition. Cleaning continues in the same gentle pattern. A cloth moves across a surface. Then again. Then again. Each motion blending into the next until there is no clear beginning or end. Only flow. Outside, the world continues its distant changes, but they remain far away, softened by distance and time. Inside, nothing interrupts the calm structure of the day. Afternoon arrives. Softly. Gradually. The light lowers, stretching across the rooms in long, quiet shapes that slowly fade as time passes. The air becomes still, carrying the gentle weight of the day's later hours. The children continue their tasks. But everything feels slower now. Not in movement, but in presence. The day is nearing its end, and that nearness is felt in the soft stillness of everything around them. Hours pass without measure, one blending into the next, until they cannot be told apart. And slowly, the day begins to close. Lessons end. Work is completed. Tools are returned to their places. Rooms settle back into order. The corridors grow quiet once more. Evening arrives. Without sound. Without change. The light fades gently. The air cools. The building returns to its deep and familiar stillness. The children walk back to their rooms. Their steps are slow. Even. Unhurried. The rhythm of the day dissolves into rest. They reach their beds. The same places. The same arrangement. Everything unchanged. They lie down. Blankets drawn close. Eyes closing slowly. The sounds of the day fade away completely. A faint movement. A distant breath. Then stillness. Deep. Soft. Endless. And in that stillness, the day becomes another quiet layer in the long, unbroken passage of time. Continuing gently, without end. There comes a point where even repetition begins to feel like something soft and natural, like the turning of seasons that no longer need to be counted. Days have passed in this way for so long that they no longer feel separate. They gather together instead, forming a single, continuous stretch of time that moves quietly forward without effort. Within these walls, everything remains as it has been. Morning arrives, as always. The light enters gently, touching the same familiar places. It rests across the beds, the floors, the still air of rooms that have known this light many times before. The children wake. Their movements are calm, unhurried. There is no moment of surprise, no moment of hesitation. Only the quiet continuation of something already in motion long before they open their eyes. They rise. They dress. They move through the corridor one more time. Footsteps form their soft rhythm, steady and familiar, echoing through the building like a quiet breath that never fully ends. The dining hall receives them. The same arrangement. The same order. Breakfast is served. Warm. Simple. Familiar in a way that asks nothing more than acceptance. The children sit together, moving gently through the small motions of the meal. Nothing feels new. Nothing feels forgotten. Everything is simply as it has always been. And then the day continues, as it always does. Lessons are spoken in calm voices. Work is done in quiet repetition. Hands move through familiar tasks, each motion softened by time and memory. But even this now feels distant, like something that no longer needs to be observed closely. Because what remains is not the details of any single day. It is the feeling of all days together. Blended. Softened. Carried forward. Afternoon comes, though it is no longer marked in any meaningful way. The light changes, but slowly enough that it feels like nothing has changed at all. The air settles, the rooms grow still, and everything continues in its gentle rhythm. And then evening arrives. As it always has. Without announcement. Without end. The building grows quieter, until even the quiet itself feels complete. The children return to their rooms one last time. Their steps are the same as always. Their movements unchanged. They lie down. The blankets are familiar against them. The room is soft with stillness. Eyes close slowly, without effort. Breathing becomes steady. And the world grows quiet again. Not ending. Not beginning. Just continuing in a softer and softer way. Until even time itself feels like it has slowed down enough to rest. And in that rest, everything remains. Gentle. Still. Endlessly calm.